All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled February 24th meeting of the Community Development and Human Services Committee. My name is Matt Westmoreland. I chair this committee, and I will call it to order. I am joined by council members Kelsey Bond, Lewis, Dozier, Winston, and Collins. I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda. Second by Winston.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote?
Lewis, yes.
Will everyone please vote? Councilmember Bond, how do you vote?
Yes, thank you.
That'll be 5 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda is adopted.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Second by Lewis.
Vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes are approved.
Next up on our agenda is public comment. We have 11 folks, I believe, who have signed up to speak. Each of you will have 3 minutes, and we will start off with Jenny Albert, followed by Gregory DeHart and Brother James T.Y. Is Jenny Albert here? Good morning.
I'm happy to be here today on behalf of the southwest part of Atlanta, Georgia. And we would like to make certain that you do not forget that we exist, that we have things that our neighborhood needs. We have done our walking tours. We've looked at the foliage. We've looked at the waterways. We've looked at all of the things that need attention. And we want to make certain these things are not forgotten. We need these things to be done. We see a lot of blighted areas. We see areas where businesses could exist and that where they should exist. We want the kinds of things in our community that other communities have and want. We are entitled to those things, and we want them. We do not feel that we are getting the attention we deserve. We know there is TAD money, and there should be TAD money allotted for our community. We want to have our business thriving and growing. We want things just like everyone else. We want varied types of businesses. We want the businesses that suit our community so that we don't have to go everywhere else looking for them, the same way other people do. So we would need you to pay attention to us and to know that we are cognizant of how we've been ignored, neglected, and we don't want that anymore. So please know that we are on it now. We recognize what's going on, and we're not going to have it happen to us anymore. So be aware that we are going to be on it, watching everyone, listening to everyone, coming to meetings, being represented, and we will continue to represent our community in a way that it deserves to be represented. Just because we've been silent, just because we've not been here, it doesn't mean we have not noticed. So understand that we need these things to happen, and we need them to happen now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Gregory DeHart, followed by Brother James T.Y.
As you said, my name is Gregory DeHart.
Good to meet you.
And I want to apologize because it's been some time since 1996 since I have been involved in the government in the city of Atlanta. And I have observed some things that go on that concern me. I'll use those words. And I can see from what I've observed today and read today that there are some activities that I should have been involved in all of this time. I was born and raised in Vine City, Bankhead, and I'm living in Lakewood now. However, my participation, I want to apologize, my participation in the activities of the city government is not where it should be, and I can see that there's some dubious activities going on that it's like nepotism. And I have, because I was raised in Atlanta, I do know that this is what is called a cliquish town. If you're in a particular social circle, financial circle, or business circle, then you have certain that's my phone. I don't know how to turn it off, so it's going to ring, okay?
I have that same problem.
So it's going to ring, all right? I apologize for that, too. But at my position, well, and where I am, I'm retired now, and I'm taking a better look at my community, my people, and when I say my people, I mean the people of Atlanta. And I'm seeing questionable activity that's not afforded to all of the people of Atlanta. And I just don't know what to do about it at this particular point, but because I am with Lakewood and the Southwest community, I am concerned. I know there's a lot of small businesses that do not, are not aware of what's available. I myself, I have a food pantry, and I just found out that in New York, a food pantry can get grants in order to have, and my ambition is to have a place where people can come and get free food, where they don't have to have ID, they don't have anything, the only thing they need is the need. And that is possible, but I was going out of my own pocket, but it is possible that these things can happen through the city of Atlanta, and probably Fulton County. I need to go back into them too. I was...
Thank you, sir. So your time has expired, Mr. DeHart, but I know that Councilman Winston is going to give you his card. Indeed.
Okay.
20 seconds over, but would love to continue conversing about that topic. Next up is Brother James T.Y. WMSB.
I want to.
All right. Next up is Minister Breedlove, followed by Margie McLeod. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Afternoon. Sorry.
Good afternoon to each and every one of you all. I want to say this because I always put God first. Because if we put God first, then everything else is going to come. So the Lord said, "The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, and he leadeth me in the path of righteousness, and he restores us." So I came here today again, and I'm on my way to Jesse Jackson's funeral as a civil rights activist. And I want all you all to hear this, because I don't do playing, and I don't play with God. It has been 23 years, and I have put this before you all ears. And I come again today for a final reparation. That it had been 23 years since I've been arrested in this city, mistreated. I was arrested and taken to 85. A house was not my home for city code ordinance. And the officer put me in a hot police van, and I almost died. And I sweated and I was crying for mercy. I suffered. I lost everything that I had. And I was a wealthy woman, the family of the late Madam C.J. Breedlove Walker. And I have put this before you all ears to give me justice. And the mayor has the package from the Supreme Court to give me justice. And I'm asking you all today to get with the mayor and you look at that package. And as I go to Washington, D.C. next week, I will be bringing this to President of the United States as well. I'm going to get justice, people. You all better mark your calendar. You have the tab money. I have been on these streets for 43 years. Hosea Williams, all of them, feeding the homeless, and I still do with the stick. It's time for it to give me justice. I want everything that I said on that package, which is $500 million. I will negotiate with you. But I have spent all these years in English Avenue. I put all that I had into English Avenue. I owned a restaurant there, which was called the Atlanta Cafeteria. I put Mae Baber Thomas, Michael Bunn, all these politicians in positions to do what you're supposed to do, to help the people. And I will no longer consider myself as not having what belongs to me. I'm asking you dearly to get together and to get this done, because I'm going to put it across the world. As I said, I'm a member of the Red Hat Society, activist of every organization you can think of. Walnut is my pastor, so you all need to do it. I pray that you all do the right thing, and God bless you.
Thank you, Minister, and safe travels. Next up is Margie McLeod, followed by Jody William.
I am somebody. I am somebody. I might be homeless, but I am somebody. I am somebody. And I've been out here 2 years, coming down, rent control, put a cap on the rent. We need hope. Cassie, you brought out hope. You hope. What I'm saying, I told someone that I don't wear the shirt no more because it's depression. Because people thinking that I need rent control. Can you help? Can you help me assist with rent? Y'all have so much of power. And I want y'all to do, Cassie, City Council, I want you to find out what Canada's doing. Because Canada, we did the same thing. They also sold houses, they closed them down, affordable houses. But you know what they did? The solution? They're doing a solution, but we're not. Guess what they're gonna do? History repeat itself. We're closing down corporate, what you call nonprofit. Is corporation? not it's co-ops. We're closing them. But guess what they are doing? They're going back to it. Back in the 70s, it used to be properly at that time because they saw it as family. They're building small apartments. You got 3 kids. You can't afford those apartments. The rent is high, $1,500 to $1,800 for 1 bedroom. They're going through the same thing. But I want you to do your homework. I want you to check out what's Canada doing, and then why we can't not do it. And the city council is doing it. Y'all got so much of power. Y'all got power to do anything what you want to do. $1 million. Westmoreland, I'm not jealous, but $1 million for electric bikes. That could have been for the homeless children. That's we can't put money on things. Human beings come first. That's all I'm saying. I'm not mad at you, but I want that money when y'all be thinking about homelessness and homeless children, put it on them. So what I say, I am somebody. I might be homeless, but I am somebody. And keep hope alive.
Amen. Next up is Jody William, followed by Kimberly Brooks. I'll see Ms. William. Ms. Brooks, followed by Honoré Jordan.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm deeply concerned because I continue to see waived before these documents, waive ordinances, waive policies, waive this, and policies are in place for a reason. And the waivers that I'm looking at in council are disturbing, as many others have said. So I want to come before you today because many are asking you for different things. But as a citizen of this city, I demand that you do it. Right? So I want to just give some definitions for the audience, for those listening, because we use the term affordable housing. I want to use the term income-based housing, because until we have a state Georgia minimum that's not $7.25 an hour, and we have people that work every single day that cannot find a place to stay, the prioritization of housing has to be the primary focus. And I see you guys focusing on different land use and things of that sort, but we have to stabilize the citizens of and the residents of this city first. Now, I want to place specific emphasis on your ability to fine landlords for not doing their jobs and waiving those fines. Mrs. Councilman Bond, thank you so much. My new councilmen excite me sometimes because I want that energy and I want that justice, because government needs to return to governmenting. So anytime I have a landlord that can have a code violation waived to where they're waiving millions of dollars, people are suing the landlord, but I sue the city of Atlanta because it's your duty and responsibility to make sure that these units are habitable. And when you remove these tenants, you don't remove them and punish them for the landlord and you not having the housing habitable. You need to compensate them because you allowed them to live in those conditions. Now, at my age, when I was younger, this was not possible because we had a government that would not allow this. So while we prioritize low density, high density, reallocating parcels and things like that, you are not prioritizing the public property that you own, that you can use, that you are selling or bidding to landlords that have money, that don't need money, but not prioritizing the homeless issue and crisis that we have, that you have a responsibility and duty to do. So I will be pushing for a rent strike in June. For all of those code violated places, the people that live there, they should not be paying rent to anyone. No one should be requiring it. And anyone that opposes that, any councilman that opposes that, you're not on the right side of the law. So I'm here also on behalf of the West Side because I hear all of the redevelopment that's needed there, that's asked there, that is due there, and I can't understand why they're still begging you for it when you have the money to do it. So we're going to move into an era of what I call transparency and accountability. Clearly defined goals and objectives, systems, and processes so we can identify who's held accountable, who's not doing their job, and we can hold them accountable. God bless.
Thank you. Next up, Honoré Jordan, followed by Rodney Mullins.
Giving out to the Spirit of God to everyone that's here. And said unto them, it is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. Matthew 21st chapter, 13 verse. A similar cleansing is recorded at the beginning of Jesus' ministry, indicating his disdain for the corruption of organized religion and lack purity of life and the power of God. While they promised them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought in bondage. 2 Peter, 2nd chapter, 19th verse. False teachers are further called servants of corruption, because despite their professing of salvation, they have become entangled in the world and overcome by it. Sin is a deception of power. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness. Deliverance from death. Proverbs 11, chapter 4, verse. Possession of money will not pardon you from God's rage, so that obedience to him gives life. Submission to Jesus created the income. Not by man's power, but the Spirit of Christ, being led by the Spirit of Christ. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. Matthew 7, chapter 26, verse. On the basis of all that he has taught and illustrated, he concluded that all who both hear and do his sayings shall be saved. Jesus give us the power to obey you. When God showed me in a dream in the properties that I would purchase, and he created the money for it, if China sent a bomb or satellite to the property, it would go right back to them. And only Christ can do that. Man can't do that. That's when we need Christ. And he created the money by the word of God, using me, trying to seek to obey him. Not obeying man, but obeying Jesus Christ, the word of Christ. Created the money. But you got your trust in yourself. And a man that's supposed to be called to preach the word of God, James Will, is working against me. God cannot lie, but man lie.
Thank you. Next up, Rodney Mullins, followed by our final speaker, Deborah Hand or Hill? Arnold. Like I said, Deborah Arnold.
Thank you, Chairman Westmoreland, and thank you, honorable council persons. I want to speak to you tonight about the state of working class, the state of West Atlanta. Tonight at 9:00 p.m., we'll be listening to the State of the Union. But today I want to talk to you about something close to home, close to my heart. When I left West Point and left corporate America, left the Obama administration, I promised to give a portion of my life back to people who were left and lost and left behind, who didn't always understand the workings infrastructure of government like you guys are experts. They believe when someone comes to them that they mean well, that everything's going to work out fine. So what I want to tell you is that we have disparities. We have an equity problem in Atlanta. The equity issue is based in particular how we how we manage the NRI process. The NRI process actually included a majority of people on there were corporations and proxies. That left out people like you see behind me. They didn't have a voice. What I'm offering to you is that you will have on your desk the Legacy Prosperity Initiative, which just doesn't target a particular region. It targets a class of people that have left behind by the TAD. Because the TAD in and of itself is causing a problem. This is a policy that you can control with the stroke of a pen. The policy that you have in place now has allowed proxies to be embedded into the local TADs and to the TAD board. So much so that when money comes through the TADs, here's what happens. There's developers at every single TAD. They manage that money, those funds, and they benefit from it, not the people who need it the most. That's a challenge, that's a problem. And then everyone on the NRI commission voted against this number of the policies that we're talking about now, such as repurposing schools and school closures. So you need to restructure the TAD so that it includes people. The challenge we have now is that the TAD board is not representative of the people. So you have an equity. You don't have one Atlanta because all your decision making is created by the elites. So we're saying change your policies and then you'll eliminate poverty. Poverty is not the problem. The problem is the process and the policies. Poverty is an outcome of your policies. Your policies create communities that are not engaged because Invest Atlanta makes decisions behind closed doors that does not include them. The Legacy Prosperity Act that you have, Economic Development Plan that includes people like Jay White, that includes medical professionals, that we want to design our own plan that's for us, by us, and with us. We don't need the NRI to design a plan for us. We don't need parental controls. We don't need a father or a daddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Final speaker of the... Ms. Collins.
Sir, I just wanted to just say anything, not a comment, sir. Sir, not a comment to, not a response to it, but I know you talk about in terms of the West, being on the West Side. Are you aware of the NRI community meetings that are happening? No, are you aware of, because there is one I want to put on your calendar on this Thursday at Grove Park Elementary, particularly pertaining to the Grove Park, Bankhead, that side at, from 12 to 2 p.m. Those are the actual NRI community meetings. And so I do want to make sure you don't leave out here without that on your table, because that is the space where the communities are actually talking about those plans. I think it is for us to make sure we get that information more out to you. But I know you came to full council and to this committee meeting. I want to make sure you at least have that meeting on your calendar, and there are others, so we can get that to you.
And the problem is, I appreciate you so much, but plan. They came, the NRI didn't include a plan, no outcome.
Hold on, we're not.
We're not, Go ahead.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm done. That's right.
Final speaker of the day is Deborah Arnold.
Greetings, Council. Our U.S. Senator said it profoundly. In this day and time, we've been attacked through our souls. And it says, if our people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then they will hear from heaven and I will heal their land. I am Deborah Jean Arnold. I am degreed on the Sachs Christian University, and I can say these words today. And also, I like to say, my rights, our rights, my rights, Title 4, Title 8, discrimination, ADA, has been violated. And I'm standing here today asking for you to hear me out. Also on August 23rd, 2025, I've been making reports. As a woman, a black woman, a woman in a community, Lower City community, was raised up in school on the north side of town, but my mission, my work to get it together, even from the south side of town, as they say, you got stuck, but yet still I have a God who is to worship and to be praised. And I'm asking you to hear me out. August 23rd and other incidents happened to me. To have the audacity to, Black History Month, I'm gonna say this to each and every one of you. I was at a major hospital here in Atlanta, Georgia. My stand, and I hope you take this seriously, I may be a little jittery because of the department that I am in now, that some of you may not believe. The EMF effects, we see that every day. Microwaves, telephones. But the voltage level, I don't know whether or not completely was my a property manager, but I do have a reason to say this. I was told in this hospital by one that's not even on the staff, first time in my life of African-American study degree, to feel the most degraded black person in my life. He said, if you say one more word to me, about this EMF effect, I will snap your neck, and I will hold you, and I will throw you into a truck. And then after the truck, I'll hold you again and throw you into a facility that you'll never, forever say another word. This happened to me, Deborah Jean Arnold, a citizen of Atlanta, Georgia, a degreed African-American study from Georgia State University. A mother, yes, I had challenges, but yet says I have a God. I have 5 grandkids, my daughter and 5 grandkids that I was concerned about, that I pray every day. Honestly, my grandchild, Young, won her rewards at Dunbar Elementary School when the teachers was pulled off.
Thank you, Ms. Arnold.
I praise God. And also others to consider. My PhD, I'm actually helping with that too. Thank you.
Thank you to members of the public who came and spoke with us today. Colleagues, without any objection, the individual here for our communication is present, and so we will take that first before our 3 presentations.
26C5011, the committee. Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? You good? I'm talking loud. You can't hear me? 1 second.
I could hear you.
Well, it wasn't on. Can you hear me now?
Now,
Okay.
yes.
26C5011, a communication from Mayor Andre Dickens appointing Mr. Robert Hill to serve as a member of the West End Community Improvement District. This appointment is for a term of 4 years.
Mr. Hill, you introduce yourself to us and tell us why you'd like to serve in this role.
Robert Hill from the West Side, or West End of Atlanta. We have been in business in so with Cadazzle Child Care, we've been in business since 94, May of 94, going on 32 years. I love public service, been in public service since and I'm not sure if it's still around, the Fulton County Youth Commission. Been one of their inaugural teams, and it's been great. Love to serve. My father said I need to be on the board, I think because he was tired of being on the board. So I am here now and ready to serve and happy to help. If you all on this great council need any help in any way I can assist, please give me a call.
Thank you.
Or reach out in any way. And because you guys get beat up a lot. So if we can help, let me know. Outside of that, we have child care centers in both Southeast, 7 in total, 1 in Memphis and 1 in Miami, but 5 in the city, 4 in the city and 1 in Hampton, Georgia. So business owner, we are here to help and serve, and we look forward to developments and helping any way we can.
Thank you. Mr. Dozier.
Hill.
I know he has a question.
Okay. Well, I was like, wait a minute. Dozier's not it. Okay, I'm sorry. You had a question?
No, it's just a comment. Just say good to see you. I look forward to serving alongside you on the West End CID. I know your father's not here, but please send my regards to Mr. Hill. And I know he has my personal number. I want to make sure you have it as well. But just want to say congratulations. Look forward to serving alongside you, and I'll move to approve.
Motion to approve, which I will second. Mr. Lewis.
I see I hear the passion in your voice. I see it in your face. To look at your resume, to see that Atlanta Technical College.
Yes.
And then you left and came back home. Similar to my story. So thank you for your service to the city. And I'm happy that I get to cast this vote in support of you.
Thank you.
But also, you heard the conversations today amongst community members who don't feel that TAD, CIDs, and things have done for them. I know you got our back. Thank you again.
I would love to comment on that. 10 seconds. For all that have
all 10 seconds, I'd love to hear it. Let's
okay.
Go.
If you have any issue with any community, any city public council, just make sure you buy in that city that you live and support that community with all the dollars possible. You do that, makes the business owner stronger. They have then vote and add to help fundraisers. But my 10 minutes is up. So,
motion to approve by Dozier, second by Westmoreland. Please open that vote.
The vote is open.
all good.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
It is all good. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve. Next up, colleagues, are our three presentations. The CEO of the Beltline has an engagement after this, and so if you will come on up.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Clyde Higgs. I'm the president and CEO for the Atlanta Beltline, and happy Black History Month to everyone. And just for the folks in the audience, if you're so inclined, I would challenge you to Google a name. His name is Sam Colliers. Sam Colliers. He is widely accepted as the first black urban planner in the United States. He has a storied history. He has been in leadership in Sacramento, Toronto, other cities around the country, Chicago, and so forth. But just a little nugget for Black History Month. We'll go to the next slide, please. And just a reminder, this is the responsibilities for the Atlanta Beltline. Oftentimes we hear about it as a trail project, but it's so much more than that. It really is a community development project that just happens to use infrastructure to create outcomes that we want for our community. And then also I want to talk about something that we are excited about, and that is an autonomous vehicle project that's going to happen on the west side of town. And just a little bit of background with regards to transit and technology. Transit is changing so much. It is going through its own kind of Moore's Law advancement there that in the next 5 years, it's going to be unrecognizable. And so one of the things that we think is prudent is that we experiment and investigate technology opportunities when it comes to transit. And so in partnership with our transportation partners, we have been funded about $1.7 million from the Transit Link Authority to have an autonomous vehicle that ultimately will take people to the Beltline, to the West End MARTA station, and in the fall, ultimately connecting to the AUC. And this is going to run for about a year. So we're very excited about this. This is going to happen ahead of FIFA World Cup with the intention that there will be challenges, mistakes, but ultimately it will help us to learn to see if this is something that we want to adopt in the city of Atlanta. And then also want to acknowledge all the passion around the transit conversation. We hear it, we get it, we share that same passion for sure, but I want to make sure that people are very clear that the Beltline is very supportive. Without equivocation, we support transit within the city of Atlanta, within the Beltline confines as well. So just want to make that very, very clear. We look forward to working with the city of Atlanta, the city council, MARTA, obviously, to figure out a full plan and move transit forward in the city of Atlanta. One of the things that I want to brag on, and I have my colleagues from the Beltline team in the audience as well, but the Beltline project is a finalist for something called the Ross Prize. The Ross Prize is, you can almost think about it as the Nobel Peace Prize, but for urbanism and big projects across the globe, not just nationally, but across the globe. And the final winner will receive $250,000 to support their project if they are selected the winner. So I think we are competing against projects in Korea, and other projects across the globe. But right now we're a finalist, and we should know if we're going to receive that prize or not sometime in April. I believe about 330 applications were received from over 70 countries, and Atlanta was the only city in the United States selected to be considered for that prize. Then also moving on to some exciting news, we held a groundbreaking in January This was for the next version and phase of what we describe as the bike park for Shirley Franklin Park. And there is a big benefactor behind that, and his name is Ben Chestnut. They actually made an $8 million gift to support the first phase of this pump track, bicycle playground, and also some additional hiking trails in the city's largest park, Shirley Clark Franklin Park. And then we're also happy to announce the Oakland Exchange. And so this is another affordable housing project that the Beltline is advancing in Oakland City / Adair Park. There will be some significant affordable housing on this site, some that are going to be permanently affordable. And so lots of movement there, and you'll get an invite for the official groundbreaking of Oakland Exchange. And then also, you're also hearing a lot about FIFA World Cup and supporting our small businesses. The Beltline team has been very busy in supporting those efforts, specifically for our small businesses. Our economic development team, along with communications, is really pushing out some significant resources to make sure that our small businesses have the tools to win when FIFA World Cup enters our city. I think I've heard some of the numbers that up to 500,000 visitors are going to come into the city of Atlanta. And you can imagine where a lot of those visitors are going to go, most likely on the Atlanta Beltline. And a part of World Cup, we're also going to host a couple of events, Beltline Fest, where we're going to invite the community out to watch games, food trucks, have community conversations during World Cup, and again, to support our small business community. And I'll go next to some of our construction updates. So headlines. Before World Cup lands, we will have almost 17 continuous miles of Beltline trail completed ahead of World Cup. This is a tremendous feat, and I want to acknowledge the work that our design and construction team has done in moving these very challenging segments forward. And just real quick, and this is an update on the Northwest Trail segments 1 through 5. This is roughly a 4.5-mile stretch of Beltline. We expect all of these segments to be completed by the end of 2030, like we originally promised the community. If you don't remember this segment, this is one of the stretches that actually does not have existing rail for us to pull up to build Beltline. So very technically challenging, but the team is doing a fantastic job in making that advance forward. And then also on Northeast Trail Segment 3, this was a project that was in peril for a while, but we're excited that the $25 million USDOT grant is now back in place, also with the support of the ARC and some of their transportation improvement funds there to support that. This is also a very technically challenging project as well, because we're going to have to interface with MARTA Rail, Norfolk Southern, and CSX to make this project a reality. We expect to have the bids out this calendar year. And Councilmember Winston, you will be happy to know that we are making significant efforts on Southside segments 4 through 5. Although some people think that the trail is open, it is not right now. It is not open. And again, this is not being the no police, but this is actually being the safety police. And we want to make sure that people are not out on the trail when it's not officially open. But significant progress there. We expect to have the official ribbon cutting for that in early April. And then we also continue to make significant strides on segments 2 and 3. All of this will be completed ahead of World Cup. This is roughly about a 3.5-mile stretch of new mainline Beltline trail that's moving forward. And then on the park side, we have Anota Park. This is something that we broke ground on last year. We expect for it to be finished this calendar year. It's about an 8-acre park that we expect to deliver for the community, again, this calendar year. So very excited for all the affected communities that will get access to what I think will be one of the most exciting parks in the city. We continue to make significant strides on the affordable housing side with some of the announcements that I just made earlier. We are at about 80% of our affordable housing goal of 5,600 units of affordable housing in the tax allocation district like we planned by the end of 2030. If you start projecting this out, my guess is that we're going to beat our affordable housing goal by over 20% when it's all said and done. But a big shout out to the entire team and all the agencies that think about housing affordability, not just the Beltline, but Invest Atlanta, obviously the city, and also Atlanta Housing and our not-for-profit entities as well. And one of the things that we got some feedback from community on was understanding where those affordable units are going to be. And so one of the things that you'll see on our website is an affordable housing dashboard. And what this dashboard will do is just give you a scorecard of where we are against that official goal, but will also give you more information on where to access those affordable units as well. And this is some of the highlights with regards to future affordable housing opportunities for the Beltline. We've amassed almost 100 acres of additional land for future housing and commercial affordability along the Atlanta Beltline. One of the things that I really get excited about is Chapel Road. And I got to give a shout out to Council Member Westmoreland for helping to make this happen. This was our largest land acquisition in Beltline history. And the key part about this is it's actually going to have opportunities for people to own. So most of the units that we talk about are rental units, but this is actually going to be an opportunity, an affordable opportunity for people to actually own a piece of dirt right on the Atlanta Beltline. And then, as you know, affordability is a very complex problem that's going to require very sophisticated solutions. And part of that solution is making sure that existing residents can thrive in place in their home. And got to give a shout out to our foundation partner, the Atlanta Beltline Partnership, for standing up a fund to literally pay homeowners rising property tax so that they can, again, thrive in place along key areas in the Atlanta Beltline. Good activity being pushed out of economic development, headed up by Kelvin Collins, our vice president there, really pressing the envelope when it comes to housing, or excuse me, commercial affordability, and making sure that businesses can afford to actually operate on the Atlanta Beltline. For better or for worse, the Beltline is getting some of the highest rents in the city when it comes to commercial space. And so this team is standing up some very innovative programs to depress rent rates for commercial businesses. And then also on the safety, signage, and maintenance side, the real estate and asset management team is doing a fantastic job. One of the highlights here is the Beltline Ambassadors Force. And so these are the men and women that you may see in T-shirts, green T-shirts and khaki pants that are really courtesy officers telling people if you want to get a cup of coffee, if they see something unfortunate happening on the Beltline, they can call APD directly. And so you'll see that program expand to roughly 20 team members that will patrol the entire Beltline. On the arts and culture side, we continue to see great efforts from the team there. We expect to have the Atlanta Beltline Lantern Parade this fall. And we had a couple of weather hiccups in the past, but we're looking at the parade this fall this year. And then also we continue to work with Big Tigger. If you don't know, that is a radio personality. And the story behind our work with Big Tigger is that he will tell you that the Beltline saved his life, because during the pandemic, it was one of the only places that he can get out in a safe way to actually enjoy people and nature. And it was the Beltline. And so he wanted to give that love for the outdoors back to young kids in APS. He gives them free bicycles every year. Last year, we did over 250 free bicycles for neighborhood kids. And again, big shout out to Big Tigger for making that happen. We expect to do over 300 free bicycles to neighborhood kids this year along the Atlanta Beltline. And then lastly, on the community engagement side, headed up by Lynette Reed. Lynette and her team are doing a strong job. We had over 20 community meetings for 2025. That does not include the additional 18 where we participate with other projects and entities that talk to community. So they do a fantastic job in trying to reach community to talk about some of these big decisions that are ahead of us. One of the things that we like to brag about is that community engagement is probably one of the largest departments within the Atlanta Beltline, because it is the people's project at the end of the day. So having deep conversations, even when they're uncomfortable with community, is one of the things that we like to push. And so, Mr. Chair, I think I've taken my time, but I am happy to answer any comments or questions out there.
Thank you. We've been joined by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari, who may or may not have a question at some point. And we're going to start things off in this order with Councilmembers Dozier, Lewis, and Bond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good to see you as always, Mr. Higgs.
Good to see you.
A few questions for you. The first actually is going to be a comment. I just want to say I'm really excited that the timing of the Big Tigger Bike Giveaway event is lining up with my availability for the first time, I think, the 3 years that they've been doing this on the West Side Trail or Southwest Trail. It's always been during our recess. You know, we're out of town with the family, but I've been really excited about this event for a long time, and I'm glad I'll be able to join y'all this year.
Love it.
And get some more of our kids on bikes and navigating our city streets. I'm
glad you'll be there.
I did want to ask about not even ask, but just a comment about the work y'all are doing around FIFA, around the World Cup. I recognize that, I think about the Army mantra, hurry up and wait. And for a lot of our local businesses, for like the last year and a half to 2 years, once these games were announced, a lot have asked, how can we get plugged in with what's happening around World Cup? I've been appreciative of what's happening with Showcase Atlanta. I've been appreciative of what's happening around with Invest Atlanta. But I also want to make sure that Beltline continues to do the work that we've already. I know there's a program, but I know I continue to still get questions from our small businesses. I know Jay White was in the back earlier. I think about my West End folks who've been very active in trying to get connected to the work that's ongoing. And so, if there's anything I can do to help preach the gospel, spread the word about what y'all are doing to try to get local businesses connected to the work that is the investments that are being made. If y'all have, I know y'all sit over toolkits and things like that, but if y'all have flyers, if y'all could make appearances at our MPUs, get involved with our like West End Merchants Coalition and other entities, I would ask that y'all continue to put the pedal to the metal now that we know we're a few months out and we need to get these businesses the support that they've been asking for a long time.
Absolutely. We're happy to share more information with you about that. And yes, we have the digital toolkit. We're going to have another community meeting right before FIFA just to make sure that people, if there's last minute questions, thoughts, areas of concerns that we need to address, we're going to have another round of meeting. We had one in December of last year as well. But again, we're going to continue just to put that information out there to make sure that people at least have the resources to be successful. That's the goal.
Okay, perfect. And then just on that note, beyond World Cup, I appreciate the investments y'all are making in subsidies for commercial spaces, this consortium that y'all built out. One thing I would ask y'all to consider, last year we launched our Legacy Business Program. Part of that program launch included investments from both the City of Atlanta as well as through our TADs to provide grants for small legacy businesses who've been operating continuously in the City of Atlanta for 30 years or longer. As y'all are thinking about a rubric in which to provide commercial space or subsidized commercial space for small businesses, I would love y'all to consider incorporating the Legacy Business Program, because Invest Atlanta has already done the work to identify these businesses, making sure they've done their, they've been in the community for a long time, they have their updated business license, but the grant funding that we've been able to provide is relatively limited, and I'm, hat in hand trying to get more funding into that program. But if there's other city adjacent organizations like ABI that can help support that program and getting those businesses the FaceTime with the customers that are walking the Beltline, hopefully taking the train on the Beltline 20, 30 years from now, but to be able to make sure that all parts of our city are working together to support our legacy businesses. I'm hopeful that that's something y'all can consider as well.
Absolutely. And Kelvin Collins, our head of economic development, I know is working with Lori at Invest Atlanta, and also our not-for-profit side is talking to some corporate donors that would actually support that program in a much deeper way. So we'll definitely make sure they double down on that coordination effort. I think that's what I hear you say.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Speaking of transit, two notes. One, so ATL spoke. I know there's been a lot of questions about this program, and me personally, I'm appreciative of the fact that we're taking advantage of funding that was available to us through the Atlanta Transit Link. I recognize this is going to be a pilot. I've been pitching this project as more of a last mile connector versus a full-blown, fully fledged transportation project. A third of my students at the AU Center don't own a car, don't have access to a car. And with 15-minute headways is a great way to get them connected to MARTA, get them connected to the Beltline. And so I'm appreciative of that. I shared this with the team a couple of weeks ago. We'll love to see if there's a future phase of this to include the Ralph David Abernathy corridors to connect all the way to Gordon White Park, or maybe even connecting east to Mechanicsville and beyond. But just, letting this, it's called the ATL spoke, so let's be a spoke for last mile connectivity across our city and in these parts of our community. So I wanted to add that, but also I know that you emphasized that Beltline transit continues to be a priority, but I also want to be careful in how we define transit. I'm appreciative of ATL spoke, but I think qualifying transit as mass transit is going to be important as we figure out the next genesis of the planning work that's going forward. I don't want to lose the forest from the trees, and I recognize there's a number of different vendors out there between Beep and Glideways and others, but mass transit to me requires a lot more investment, both in terms of financial investment, but as well as political capital to make all that happen and make that the vision that we want to make real. And so I just want to make sure that when we talk about we're continuing to invest in transit, that it's mass transit, because I think that there's a big difference between these various different modes of transportation. So that was clearly a comment and not a question, but I just wanted to emphasize that. I imagine there'll be some questions as well from my colleagues about some of the events that have been transpiring in the news, and I'll let them ask those questions. My last comment is Noda Park. I'm excited. My community is excited. Westview is excited. West End is excited. 8 acres of new park space is a big deal. The fact that y'all are having a splash, I didn't realize until I met with your team a couple of weeks ago that it was also going to include a splash pad. So once I got that word out, there's been a lot more excitement. My only question on that front is, are there other sites across the city that y'all are looking to acquire land to expand park space? I know the park's been something y'all been working on for 20 years, but I'm curious if there's other green spaces that we're building out in other parts of our city that I can celebrate with my community members.
Yeah, fair question. And again, I'm super excited about it. It's going to be one of the top parks in the city for sure. One of the responsibilities that I mentioned earlier for Beltline, obviously, again, the trail gets most of the attention, but it's trail, transit, affordable housing, economic development, and parks and green space. And so if you look at the original redevelopment plan, it was supposed to be north of 1,000 acres of green space. And probably the next site on our minds is Boulevard Crossing. That's going to get a lot of investment and attention from us, but we're always looking for opportunities to secure new sites for specific Beltline parks. Obviously, it needs to be in the TAD, because that's how we can spend our dollars. But that's one of the things that we really want to advance is the park side. People get a lot of joy from that. And so Boulevard Crossing is probably going to be the next Beltline park that you'll see activity on.
Okay. And is it a similar IGA as with the trail where the first year is kind of Beltline manages the operations and maintenance and then it passes on to the Department of Parks and Recreation, or is it a different type of program?
That will be the plan, which leads, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That's another tight, hard conversation that we need to have with regards to maintenance around the city. And we have a terrific parks commissioner, Justin Cutler, but we really need to think about a holistic plan. One of the things that I get nervous about is that we're going to deliver 22 miles of Beltline trail, but what is the long, high-level, high-quality maintenance program to keep that asset looking beautiful? It's going to get tried for World Cup, again, with all of these new visitors here. And it's going to be a good learning scenario for us and what that looks like. But we have to think about what maintenance long-term looks like for Beltline and all parks across the city.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'll close just by adding a comment as we think about maintenance and operations. Going back to the transit conversation, MARTA has a lot of operational capacity. And so when we think about modes and who operates those various modes of transportation, rail, bus are things that MARTA has historically been able to provide operational support for. And I hope that we keep that in mind as we think about the next genesis of Beltline transit, preferably rail. So,
Indeed.
Mr. Chair, I yield.
Councilmember Lewis.
And typically I don't piggyback off what my council members say, but I want to piggyback off that, but also say, look at different partners, right? I know MARTA has operated traditionally in the state of Atlanta, in the city of Atlanta, but MARTA and Metro out of DC, they had the same map at one point when they first started. So Metro actually completed their map. MARTA didn't complete the map that it had. And so I want for you to not just go into just in your procurement process, just make sure you're open to procurements from other rail operators across the country, because the things that we've asked for, even in the more MARTA program, we've had to adjust. And so we would want you to be open to other spaces. That's on the rail operation. I am for Beltline Rail, full out. I am extremely happy about the Southside change. I know you've been hearing a lot of complaints about this, but you haven't talked to the council member who represents the district. I know there's a change, but I am happy about it. And what I've learned is that if you build the infrastructure, the other stuff comes after it. And the example I use is the Southside Beltline Trail. 4 years ago, when I was elected, we hadn't started that project. To see 80% of the funding come from Senator Ossoff, our Congress people, and a more friendly administration. I'm extremely happy about that. Can you tell me anything about, because I'm looking at this, about the rail change to the South Side portion? And can you speak to me as the council member, because I'm excited about this conversation?
Yeah, so one of the things that you mentioned is really interesting. So we talked about Southside Beltline Trail. One of the things that we did early is advance Southside Trail Segment 1 ahead of schedule. because for us, we're looking at it from an equity perspective, and making sure that communities that really deserve and need that earlier injection in resources, we decided to pull up segment 1 earlier outside of the schedule. So that was one of the things that we did using that.
We worked on that together too.
Absolutely, and it paid off, because now we can say that the whole South Side Trail is going to be finished ahead of World Cup.
Can I add one thing to that? What we saw on the South Side, and I want to ask you this, the Beltline then purchased a pad. And were you going to purchase that pad at this point in time, or did that speeding up of the South Side building trail advance your plans?
Yeah, it did. And we saw it as an opportunity. And we're talking about the 14 acres for the folks at home at University and Metropolitan. Pittsburgh community. And it's about 14 acres. We have selected a developer that is going to develop new affordable housing units. It's going to be a mixed-use development right there on that site. Yep. So it's going to be significant. And so the mindset is making sure that communities, again, that deserve that investment are going to get that from an equity perspective is where we're at.
And I apologize for breaking you up, and I'll pass it over to my colleagues after this, but can you tell us more? Because on the South Side, we don't know about this Beltline rail. We're excited. We know you switched it for equity purposes. What we say is MARTA has been something to get you to the airport or to get you to Lenox Mall. But the folks in my district, they need a place to get to work. And so what you've done is actually, so can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so there's a thought process behind making sure you take the resources to where you have transit-dependent communities, if you will. And so if you use that as your rubric, so transit-dependent communities, equity, and also disturbance. And so if you think about Pittsburgh, you don't have the same density as you do around the rest of the Beltline. So from a disturbance perspective, it's probably going to be much easier to advance transit on the South Side. And so that's some of the mindset behind it. But again, ultimately, this is a decision that MARTA and their board has to approve and vote on. So that is not in stone at this point.
What I would like for you to look into, I know MARTA's now using this language, so is the ATL-DOT, the gondola. 2 years ago, I was talking to, before they made the change for rail, for rail down Metropolitan, rail down in certain places, I made sure to introduce the gondola to MARTA. I know they're talking about it now. It's a cheaper option. They're doing it in more progressive cities. So the gondola on the Beltline may actually work. So if you can add that to your conversation, and if you can make sure that, I love working with Bryson, love working with Jill from the Beltline, love working with them because they answer some of my questions before I ask them, because they listen to the meetings and they know what I want to ask. So my question to you is that if you can make sure that the folks from ATL Beltline are working with ATL DOT, because we've been putting together a puzzle on the South Side, right? And I've been putting pieces to the puzzle together. And from Conley Road, Jonesboro Road, South Atlanta High School, we've been putting together a puzzle to where you can get to the Atlanta Beltline from as far as Conley Road, Brownsmere Road, and South Atlanta High School. The funding's already there for almost every road to get you there. And the maps that you have online, when you show spurs, I love seeing this dashed line, that red line up in the northeast side. If you can put that spur, that little dashed line to South Atlanta High School, you'll see how far down it goes. And so if you can just add that so that folks on the South Side can see all the work we're doing. And there's funding to get you from there to there. Thank you again, Chair, for opening up. And thank you again for the work that you're doing to get us connected.
Thank you, Council Member.
All right, thank you, Mr. Higgs. I had a few questions that kind of tie into the same topics that Councilmember Lewis and Dozier were speaking to. I do want to echo Councilmember Dozier's emphasis on mass transit over other forms of transit, micromobility, et cetera. I think it's really important that we're investing in types of transit that people can take to commute, to work and school. It's great to have those last mile options, the scooters, the buses, but we really need to be thinking comprehensively here. So I do appreciate at the top of the presentation how you acknowledge the way that we're kind of in limbo right now as a result of the PGC vote. When I spoke with MARTA, basically the message I got was that we are waiting on the mayor for a new prioritization list. Would you agree that is what's necessary to take steps as MARTA and the Beltline to move forward on transit?
What I believe is that we need to do something, Councilmember Bond. I mean, so the bottom line is, like, I really believe, like, we are well-intentioned people that really want, like, a mass transit solution that's going to get people around the city. And you can argue till the cows come home about what is the best solution. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we need to move and do something. Doing nothing, it has a cost to it. And so that's where I want to be. We need to ultimately move.
Yeah, so my question is, what are we waiting on? Are we waiting on a list from the mayor?
I think we need to wait on the MARTA vote. Ultimately, it's MARTA's responsibility to advance the prioritization of our project.
So what I was told by MARTA is that they're waiting on a new priority list from the mayor. So has there been any communication between the Beltline, MARTA, and the mayor's office about how to move forward?
We are always talking about transit, but ultimately at the end of the day, it is on MARTA. Beltline is going to be the city's implementation agent at the end of the day, but ultimately it's going to require MARTA to vote on this.
I would suggest at some point that we convene some sort of hearing with all three of these entities in the room, because it seems like there's a bit of a deflection of blame every time we call people into a meeting to ask questions. So personally, I would suggest that's a good way to move forward. I also wanted to ask a few questions about what other forms of transit have been explored, because we've used the word transit quite a lot, and we haven't really spoken specifically as to what type of transit we're talking about. So has the Beltline invested resources or money into other types of transit on the Beltline?
Yes, we've invested money into investigating various forms of transit, and even in the light rail space. So I think probably the first iteration was what people see downtown with the streetcar. But the technology has advanced so much right now. You can actually have streetcar transit without overhead wires at this point. So the battery technology has advanced so much that you really don't need that anymore. Also grass track, you can have smaller vehicles. We've invested and investigated in autonomous vehicles as well. And one of the things that I want to remind people is not to let people trap you into a debate of either or. It's rail versus technology. I would suggest that it's all of the above. If you listen to most transit experts, they're going to say it's going to require all of the above. It's going to require rail, heavy rail, light rail, autonomous vehicles, bike lanes, micromobility. So it's all of the above. Now, we have hard decisions to make because we have limited funds, and what are we going to do? And that's a problem that we need to solve, again, as a community. I want to do it all, but with the limited resources that we have, what are we going to invest in? But to your question, we've looked at a number of things, and honestly, even to Councilmember Lewis's ask about, we call it overhead transit. We don't necessarily call it gondolas, but it's something that we looked at and compared it against light rail, heavy rail, autonomous vehicles, and others. And from our research, it's still pretty expensive. If you go to Mexico City, that's probably one of the closest places that you can actually see overhead transit moving, but not sure that makes sense for Atlanta.
Thank you. One last question. You stated at the top also that, we know that the pausing of the streetcar east construction was a pause. How ready is the Beltline to resume that project should the MARTA board vote to reverse that decision?
Yeah, so as the implementation agent, as soon as the MARTA board makes a decision on where we're going to go, we're ready to implement.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Councilmember Collins, followed by Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Sorry for that. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Higgs, for thank you. I'm just sitting with everything that is being shared. Some of my questions have been answered and some of the points that I want to make, but thank you so much for this presentation. Starting with the transit piece, I think it's extremely important for us to, and I'm just saying to my colleagues, as I just listened to the different conversations, remove ourselves from the compartmentalization of it and really think about the comprehensive aspect of what you're sharing. So the PGC, the Program Governance Committee, that was part of the IGA between the City of Atlanta and MARTA, that is the committee that is driving the conversation in terms of the project list and the priority of that work. Right, and you're saying, and just to be clear, not only for me and fully understanding, but also for the community, the Beltline as the implementation agent, once that project list that also has to be funded is approved through the PGC, then therein lies where the Beltline leadership can answer and also provide concrete planning for transit. Am I right? I'm just synthesizing what I'm just hearing.
I appreciate that. So the PGC, the Program Governance Committee, was formed originally in 2020 or 2017, and then it was renewed in 2020. And so it's a partnership between the City of Atlanta and MARTA. And so you have a technical working group underneath the PGC. And so these are all your technicians, your engineers, architects, your planners, and ultimately that do a lot of the technical work. And then you have a program governance committee that ultimately looks at that technical work, and they will ultimately make a recommendation to the MARTA board for a decision. So that's where that ultimately rests. Councilmember Collins, is from PGC to the MARTA board.
All right. Yep. Thank you. I was just asking that for clarity because I know you're probably not able to provide a lot of concrete answers in terms of transit and also the leaning into mass transit when it really should be the entire collective.
I will be very clear. No, it is mass transit. We're talking about mass transit. I don't want there to be any confusion about that. Ultimately, we need to move large amounts of people there.
So just that my initial questions actually didn't center around transit, it actually centered around more of the land acquisition piece and understanding that for that very reason. So the map that you provided, the opening map, it is in the section completing the loop, yes. So in terms of understanding the investments and the priorities there, it is with understanding that those pieces that are under construction will soon, when is a timeline of those pieces slated to be completed? Is that more into 2026, early 2027? And then the red ones that are shovel ready, which that actually would complete that entire loop. What is the timeline? Just curious, a timeline in terms of completion.
Yeah, so if you look at the bottom, what you'll see, I describe it as yellow. Perhaps I don't have all of my rods and cones and my eyeballs to say, but it looks yellow to me. That's the remaining south side portion of Beltline. It'll be ready by the end of May, early June at the very, very latest. And so that's south side.
2026?
Yes, this year.
Okay.
And then what you'll see, if you go up to basically 1 o'clock on the dial, Northeast Trail Segment 3, and so that'll go out to bid this calendar year and will take us roughly 36 months to complete.
Okay.
But the bottom line for this is that this whole loop will be green by the end of 2030, which was the original promise to complete Beltline. Now I can go into a whole litany of background. You remember the Great Recession, the lawsuits against the TAD, and which really slowed Beltline down in its early days, but we have caught up. in part because of the special service district that was passed about 5 years ago. That was game-changing for Beltline, and also large philanthropic gifts that were given to Beltline. So loquacious way of saying we're going to finish the whole loop by 2030.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then with that, thinking about the land acquisition piece, so where I guess initially where this, and I love it because initially this vision came from, of course, developing this trail. Now it's kind of morphed also into acquiring land out, even though it's on the Beltline, but technically like you're acquiring heavy real estate here. So the Oakland Exchange, Murphy Crossing, all of these pieces, though you're able to purchase that, is that through TAD dollars?
Yes, so I mentioned earlier that we've acquired roughly almost 100 acres of additional land beyond just building the Beltline Trail itself. We've acquired almost 100 acres of additional land for housing affordability. That's primarily through TAD dollars, not exclusively, but primarily through TAD dollars.
And so how does this this compare, or, and this is just for me for clarity, hopefully I'm coming in a space where there are no dumb questions.
No, not at all.
In the reference, you are mentioning the SSD bonds, and the SSD bonds are only for what are the limitations of using these funds? Because that's another 88 million. So what is the basis of only being able to use the SSD bonds?
Yeah, so again, this happened, almost 5 years ago, this transaction. You may remember this debate. The SSD, as a part of the bond documents, it's only for design and construction of trails. And so that was wrapped up in the legislation when this was passed by City Council. I think it was a 13-2 vote, if I remember correctly. But that is the only ability that we have to spend is on design, construction, and then also paying off the bonds quicker.
And then this is just my last question. So is it, and I don't want to be too presumptuous, but is it safe to say that the funding to actually design and construct the actual trails come from SSD dollars, and that TAD dollars are being used to actually acquire land, but also do the maintenance and the operational side? And this just helps me understand the funding pieces. No,
that's fair. If I could just break it down in a quick pie chart, if you think about the Beltline, if it's $100, 80% of our dollars are coming from local funds, and most of that is coming from TAD, tax allocation district dollars from the Beltline. We also get additional dollars in that remaining 20% of federal and state dollars and philanthropic dollars. But the bulk of dollars used to build the trail are coming from the TAD.
And so where does SSD, where does SSD bonds fit in that? Is that part of the 80% local? Because it is I guess a sub-level tax structure, right?
Yeah, it is. So just a quick reminder, this is when business owners, property owners came together, again, roughly 5 years or so ago, and decided to self-tax themselves, because the thesis is that we weren't going to finish the Beltline Trail by 2030 if we didn't have this infusion of cash out there. And so there was a large community conversation, difficult questions, challenging. Not everybody agreed. And ultimately, we got to a 13-2 vote on City Council, but it was to help us to play catch up. Because again, if you started penciling out TAD dollars to 2030, we weren't going to have the necessary dollars to finish the trail, the mainline trail, like we originally promised the community. So it was really just an infusion to help us play catch up, if that explains enough to you.
And so at 2030, when all of this is completed, is there an opportunity for us to push that, to possibly provide relief in that space? Like, will the SSD bonds need to continue if in fact we continue the TADs, where there's relief in some space?
That's a fair question. That is a question that I'm going to leave to you all.
Okay.
Ultimately, that
Fair
is for the policymakers there.
Yeah.
I can opine on it. I think there's so many city needs out there, but that's a question ultimately that you will all have to answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Mr. Chair, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Sure, just because you mentioned it twice, and so Jennifer I doesn't ever get in trouble. It was an 11-2 vote with 1 abstention.
Okay, all right.
Hyde on property in the Beltline SSD. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Hicks, thank you so much for being here today for the presentation. There's a lot that y'all are accomplishing and a lot that I'm excited about. I don't think it is any surprise why I'm sitting here, and my district and my transportation committees have asked me to come forward today to ask some questions. Again, about the PGC vote that we found out about through the AJC. And so I understand and respect what you're saying about MARTA. Completely understand. I look forward to asking them my questions tomorrow in transportation, which I'm sure will not be a short meeting, but looking forward to that there. I know what you're saying about that and that it's up to them, but I did want to ask, why did you then cast a vote or make the motion to halt the streetcar proposal then?
To halt?
To pause, whatever the word in the vote that happened in May. It's my understanding that there were 4 members of the council, the mayor's office, that voted in favor. That you made the motion, 4 members of the mayor's office voted in favor, and that CEO Greenwood is the one who voted against. So my question again is, seeing that it is MARTA, why did you vote in favor to do that?
All right, so I just want to make sure that we're using the right words. It was not halt. It was to go to Southside Trail. That was so you can think about it like this. So the whole PGC.
I'm quoting, by the way, the words that were used by the members in this room as paused and halted for the projects.
Yeah,
those were the words that were used. Yeah,
it was redirected. That was the spirit of it for Southside. That was the discussion. That's the bottom line of it. And I will say there were 6 to 7 people. So Collie was the one person from MARTA that voted against it. But Stephen Parker and I think
voted for. That's correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So there were other folks.
Yes,
there were 2 other folks from MARTA that voted for. Just to be clear.
Very good flag. Thank you for that. Understood. But I mean, it's still a vote to halt East Side Rail. And I understand that you're saying the switch, but to my voters and to people that voted for the More MARTA program and the 17 projects that were vetted from a list of, I believe, 70, this was one of the, you can smile, it's a conversation.
I am, and I appreciate.
And I want to say, if you're getting this upset with me asking questions, then where does the public stand? So let's take a beat. Let's have the conversation.
Clear. No one is upset at all. I appreciate the conversation. I just want to make sure we're using the right words.
I understand.
Right.
I understand the need for correct words. So my question then is also, does the need for Beltline Rail no longer exist? I'm just going to ask point blank, because the back and forth and the constant, like, yes, we do need transit. I believe that everybody agrees that we need transit, but there has been a consistent gaslighting of the public of, we are going to do this project and then changing. And I would say that the more than 16,000 voters that turned up in my district for this last election would also say the same thing. And so my question again is, does the need for Beltline Rail no longer exist?
I don't agree with that.
Okay. Is Beltline Rail dead?
No.
All right. Well, this was the most significant development in the last 10 years on the Beltline, and we heard nothing about the vote. You can say repurpose, but again, optics is everything. This was not broken to us by the board. This was not broken to us by you all or the executive. This was broken to us by the AJC in a press story. And so that does give the indication of not repurposing, but halting and changing. And then in response to that story being discovered and broken to this council, then the new language came out. So
what new language?
Of suddenly switching it to the other side of the city. So that was not what was conveyed. It was conveyed to us, again, that there was a vote that took place in May. We found out about it last month in January. And by we, I mean the council. and the public. So again, the optics, and I said this in the, when the transportation chair, when our transportation commissioner presented, it's optics. I understand what is being said, and I don't think that there are poorly intentioned people. But when we do have a meeting with so few people that are making up votes that turn around and affect the well-being of an entire city, because we are landlocked, we are traffic locked, we are, in my opinion, Beltline is not a success story without rail. It is overly congested. It's not accessible. We're bringing autonomous vehicles to this location before we are rail. And I understand we talk about development and everything else. It is not an easy thing to do. I understand that bus rapid transit is stalled because of coming up with old tracks and everything else. But this is not easy. I understand that it is not easy. No one's saying that it is. In fact, it's getting harder the more we punt down the line. And so my question is, what, again, like, the public's trust in us is completely rocked. The public's trust in the Beltline is rocked. The public's trust in MARTA and the executive and this council is faltering. And so my question once again is, like, what is the vision for transit in the city? And I understand, like, we have to do something, we have to do something. Yes, we do. So everyone's saying they're waiting for each other between the Beltline, between the mayor's office, and between MARTA. And I want to echo what Councilmember Bond said. What are we waiting for? And for the residents that passed the more MARTA tax with the Beltline rail as a top priority for most voters, what are we offering them now? Other than saying, yeah, something needs to happen and we'll come together on that eventually.
Yeah, just going back to the IGA, ultimately MARTA needs to take that vote. And whenever that vote happens, as the implementation agent, we're going to deliver whatever that is.
Okay, and who is the steward of the streetcar funds? Who is stewarding the streetcar funds? MARTA, correct?
Right.
Yes, I just want to make sure, to your point about words, so people know, MARTA is stewarding those dollars, understood. And I just, for my constituents, and this has been expressed to me time and time again, and I think you know this because we've seen it in the multitude of panels we've had, of everything we've had, that the Beltline fails without rail. That is not something that is agreed on by everyone. I can say that, I can acknowledge that. But for my constituents who believe that, how do you envision the future of Beltline with no plan for additional transit, other than to say we intend to do this, but with no set plan? And again, I believe in this speech as well, you said that, or in the page as well, it says that that we will, once the project list is re-solidified. So again, I don't know where we stand as the elected that represents my community. If you could answer the question about how you envision the future of Beltline without additional transit or rail, I'd love to hear more about that.
I definitely see transit as a part of the Beltline. It's just kind of who we are. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, one of the things that, if I can opine a minute, one of the things I think we should do immediately is infill stations. I think that's something that we need to put in place. I would say that 80% of the groups that we talk to believe that infill stations should be advanced. Easy to say, harder to do. Those things are expensive.
Right.
So I think that's something that we should immediately get behind. But ultimately, when it comes to that project list, we're going to leave that to the MARTA board to figure out what that is going to be, and then we're going to implement like there's no tomorrow on it.
Okay. Thank you. I do appreciate it. I look forward to talking to the MARTA board tomorrow, or I'm sorry, the head of MARTA tomorrow, but I do think it is important when we have these discussions, understanding that it is their responsibility. Each of us has played a role into it, and we have to own that responsibility. When the public is watching us and seeing us all scapegoat each other, it doesn't exactly warrant confidence. And I understand completely what you're saying, because MARTA has I have a long list of questions for them too. And you are right, that it's their projects to vote on to confirm all of those things. But I would hope that as the head of an agency that has been the most profoundly transformative thing in the city and has brought a long list of accomplishments. And of course, good, bad doesn't happen without good. That's just, there is no purist approach to anything. But I do hope that as someone who's been in this, and frankly, whose opinion I do respect, I really hope that you can help hold them to task in making sure that they complete a vision and a promise that was made to our voters, especially before we ask them to vote on another SPLOST. So I do hope that we see more of that moving forward.
I appreciate that. And just know, I just want to make sure that people understand. People are passionate about this for a reason, right?
As we can see with the two of us.
No, exactly. And I get that. And I actually We want that because this is going to be for the health of our city for generations. Now, the reason why it's hard is because it is not cut and dry, right? There's two sides to this, maybe three, maybe four sides to this conversation. And that's where the rub is at this point. And but ultimately, we got to figure, like, any decision is better than no decision right now. And that's where I'm at. Like, hey, let's get behind whatever decision we make, even if we don't really love it, let's get behind it because they're all going to be better than doing nothing. And that's where I want to be. But I do appreciate the passion. I do. I think we're going to figure it out, and we are going to implement like there's no tomorrow.
I'm happy to hear it. I look forward to asking additional questions of tomorrow morning, and I thank you. I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Final word from Councilmember Bond.
I'll keep it short. Yeah, thank you. So operating under the assumption that the East Side streetcar was paused to reprioritize on the West Side, is there any South Side? Is there any timeline that exists for how long it would take to begin construction there?
We would have to go through the whole design process. That is. Yeah, I don't want to even give you a timeline on that right now, but it has to go through design and ultimately get to construction documents, and then it'll be a timeline for construction for sure.
So would you estimate it would take about the same amount of time that it took to draw out all the plans for the East Side?
I don't believe so.
You think it would take less time?
I do.
Has any investment gone into those plans?
To what plans?
To pivot to the South Side.
We have investigated the entire loop. So we have plans on the entire 22-mile loop of the Beltline. So yes.
So you can't give any sort of timeline as to how long it would take to begin construction if MARTA board were to vote today?
I could not until we have the final design documents in place.
Okay.
I could not.
Yeah, I wanted to ask because I do have concerns about, how much we have invested in the existing plans and, pivoting. How many times are we going to change plans? How many times are we going to pivot? There's so much back and forth. And I agree, we should pick something and roll with it. But we need the people in power to make that decision.
We do. And so even with East Side, I think we were at 30% drawings at that point. And to get to 30% on the South Side, again, we'll get back to you on what that looks like. But ultimately, let's make a decision and move. But if we all agree with the guiding principles, if you believe in equity, if you believe in disturbance, then let's figure that out. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Next up is the 2026 FIFA World Cup Human Rights Action Plan, which will be presented by Candace Stansel, who I believe is our Chief Impact Officer.
I know, such an adjustment. Good afternoon, everyone. Candace Stansel, she, her, hers. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee, for the opportunity. I will not be before you long. I want to, acknowledge that for about 2 years, we've been thinking about this Human Rights Action Plan, and we want to just share with you all today where we are, and we'll take any questions and also give the opportunity for feedback. I'll mention at the end, the plan is being released this week, and so we want to make sure that we hear from you all about anything that might be of question. I'm also grateful for my team that is in the room, the Mayor's Office at One Atlanta, who has been at this in a number of different ways. Next slide. Oh, am I responsible? Thank you. Okay, I'm so used to my team backing me up. One, just so you know kind of what the focus of our Human Rights Action Plan has been, we really want to be thinking about safety and well-being, particularly for vulnerable populations around the city. We are thoughtful. The City of Atlanta is always good at this, but making sure we provide an inclusive environment and that there's a zero tolerance policy around discrimination, abuse, and violence. We want to make sure that work environments focus on safety and that we have a remediation process if there are concerns, which will happen through our Human Relations Commission, of which you all are deeply familiar. And then we want to make sure we're highlighting the diversity and rich culture of Atlanta. There are 3 parts to the Human Rights Action Plan, which at this point is about 54 pages. We'll make sure everyone gets a copy for review after this presentation. We had 3 things we wanted to focus on: inclusion and safeguarding, which is really about workers' rights, young people, reducing trafficking issues. And then we have a whole section about workers' rights, in particular, pulling up on how we ensure dignified conditions, making sure folks are treated with respect, a lot of work around wage and access. And then we also are focused on access to remedy, right? If something does happen, what are our tools? And the thing that I will say that's really important is to remember there are a lot of folks engaged in the FIFA process, right? We have a local organizing committee. We have the actual international body of FIFA. What the city of Atlanta can uniquely be responsible for is what's reflected in this work. There are places and spaces where we would have loved potentially more jurisdiction or more capability to say, here's something that we would like, and we'll continue those conversations, but we wanted to be clear about what was within our purview to make sure we could deliver on the promise of the Human Rights Action Plan. A little on the process. We did about 75 hours of community engagement to get to what you will see as your draft currently. We had over 25 organizations at public community engagement sessions. Those were both virtual, in person, in Spanish, in English. We wanted to make sure that everyone who wanted to engage could. And there were several folks from our City of Atlanta internal team. I just will give them deep appreciation. Obviously, the Mayor's Office of One Atlanta is the lead, but we also had the Mayor's Office of Violence Reduction, our International Immigrant Affairs Office, Emergency Preparedness and Innovation and Performance, as well as members of our Chief Strategy team and our Chief Operations teams, and then the Atlanta Department of Labor and Employment Services, ADOLS. The focus of the Human Rights Action Plan is to make sure that we are looking at strategic long-term opportunities that align to existing city priorities. We want to make sure that we're thinking about impact well after the game, and so I'll talk a little bit about the legacy impacts. In the document, which talks a lot about protections we're offering, how to get remedy, all the things I've mentioned, what we're most focused on is measuring our legacy impact projects. And I won't walk through all of them for you. I think we can have an offline conversation if one is of particular interest. But most of these sit in spaces and places that each of you are committed to. On Thursday, this Thursday, the 26th, we will actually begin the mapping of our human rights ecosystem. Atlanta is known for being a city that has folks available to us. We want to make sure those folks are at the ready if there's ever a need. And so organizations we've invited from across the city will join us at the National Center for Civil and Human Rights to look at what resources exist in Atlanta already around human rights, whether that's democracy protections, whether that's civil rights in particular, whether it's youth protections. We'll have a bunch of folks together and we'll really talk about what is something we can do as a shared strategy across human rights organizations in our city. Additionally, a ton of work around youth safety and support. We're excited about our partnership with UNICEF as they uplift and continue to advance the Child Human Rights Bill. We also are doing some work with our state partners at Georgia World Congress Center around ensuring career in sports. Many of you probably saw the press conference from the mayor about the Showcase Atlanta Youth Entrepreneurship Accelerator that launched on yesterday. The intention and interest has been quite high. We will be supporting 16 to 21-year-olds with about $30,000 in grant funding to make sure they're FIFA ready for their businesses. We have major sporting event accessibility readiness as a checklist we'll be providing. So we do a ton of big sporting events, a ton of large special events here in Atlanta, making sure they're accessible for those who have physical disabilities, visual disabilities, hearing challenges. We want to make sure that this city understands how to do that well, and we're excited to create that in partnership with so many folks who have great in-facility supports for those with disabilities, but what happens when you land, arrive, navigate through our city. So we're excited about that. And then a ton of work to talk with our downtown team about housing. You all see Shatiqua often, who leads that work. And then our anti-human trafficking work, which is a network of hotel owners, partners, our state prevention partners, our Attorney General, all thinking about how we reduce human trafficking while FIFA is in town and beyond. And then we're super excited about the Atlanta Pride House, which will be our LGBTQ experiences during FIFA. And then we will be providing some of the expertise that FIFA brings from a human rights lens to our Human Relations Commission so that they have the opportunity to grow their skills as the resource for remedy around issues of discrimination. Many of you know the Human Relations Commission has operated for a number of years, and I would say it had been pretty silent until recently, and I'm excited to say that the Mayor's Office of One Atlanta, in partnership with the Office of Constituent Services, has started hearings again to resolve discrimination and harassment issues that have existed for a number of years that needed to be addressed. And so we are here to make sure that the project provides the protections that are required, that people know who to come to for resource, and again, to make sure that the things we create today leave a lasting impact in our city beyond the games. I'll be happy to take any questions after I just close out with what's next. So we will release the plan this Thursday, February 26th. We're super excited. It'll happen after the Human Rights Ecosystem Mapping experience. We also will launch a citywide calendar on our One Atlanta site, as well as in partnership with ATL Direct that has all of the human rights events that are coming up. We'll launch our human rights training series on April 1. We have folks asking us, how do I get good at this? How do I know if I need to respond to a trafficking incident? What's available to young people who want to learn how to navigate and keep themselves safe during FIFA? All of those things will be posted as virtual training that's available to residents. And then finally, we will have a standardized evaluation tool to measure the legacy impact post the games. Many people want to compare this moment to 1996. Many of us who grew up together, we all have an Olympic story. It's a little different. We're not building the same infrastructure, but it is an opportunity while Atlanta's on the map to grow what's possible and to ensure a legacy of ourselves as a global city. Happy to answer any questions about the Human Rights Action Plan.
Thank you for coming. Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good to see you as always, Ms. Stansfield.
You as well.
I really appreciate the commitment to the legacy impact that this work continues beyond World Cup.
Yes.
It's something I've tried to articulate and communicate in every aspect of whether it's transportation planning, whether it's like Atlanta will exist beyond July 2026. My question for you is recognizing the work that went into developing this action plan. I know that we as a city have adopted resolutions and codified certain language that, you know, we're a welcoming city, that
Absolutely.
all these sorts of things that really shows that this is something that we deeply care about. Do you anticipate the need to update any of the existing codification or legislation to secure the work that is inherent in the plan, and how can council help support that?
Yeah, I actually think we're in really good shape. I mean, we've been talking with folks about the plan for a long time, and we sent the last version to the large body of leaders who've been coming together to give us feedback almost 2 weeks ago, and got no additional comments. So that means we're in a good place. We've responded to the pushes we got, the questions that were asked. We were able to provide resources, tools. People actually were able to redline the plan to give us, here's what we're hoping for. So I think in terms of current policies and practices, we're in good shape. Some of the things you'll see in the plan reference things that we already put out. A great example, almost 2.5 years ago, we did a memo on peaceful protest in the city of Atlanta, how we support that, how we ensure it happens. We actually included that as an addendum in the Human Rights Action Plan because we want to remind folks, Atlanta has always been a city that honors the need for the First Amendment and the ability to protest. So we think we have those things already in place. The Human Relations Commission already exists, the body that is able to respond. We want to grow them, of course, get them better, but they're available and have been a responsive body when we've had issues or challenges. So I think we are in really good shape.
Okay, and I would just suggest that we think about if there are opportunities to codify aspects of this, let's pursue that, just because, you know, we're going to have a new mayor in 3.5 years, regardless, and so that person's priorities might shift depending on who's elected, and so I think the more we can ensure that this work remains steady regardless of the executive leadership, I think that will be the best thing for our city as a whole. So I just wanted to throw that as a comment.
Agree, Councilmember Dozier, completely, and would love to think with this body about things that we're being asked to do. I think the human rights ecosystem mapping session on Thursday will lift questions, concerns. We've heard from our labor community. These are things we want to discuss, right? So we want to make sure we're available, listening, and I think there are real opportunities in the future to continue to think about this.
And my last question for you is,
please.
I know we'll be hosting another Super Bowl in 2028. Do you know if the NFL has any sort of similar requirements of host cities, and how well would this action plan comport with what we think might be asked of us, whether it's by the NFL or with NCAA with the Final Four, I think in 2030?
I know. I can't speak to whether the NFL has asked a particular question about that, but when we hosted them previously, there was a ton of work done around anti-trafficking that we will continue. We know that large sporting events tend to be an issue in this area, and we want to make sure that we're responsive, but we can absolutely have a conversation about how, even if it's not a requirement from others, that Atlanta continues to put forward what we know works well in our city to keep folks safe, secure, and included in all these experiences.
Thank you. Ms. Chair, I yield.
Councilmember Bond.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I appreciate the nod to workers' rights. I have a few questions about what that looks like in practice. Something I'm thinking about is we're likely to experience very extreme heat this summer, which will disproportionately impact service workers and all types of workers. And so I'm wondering if there's anything being put in place to educate these workers on heat safety, OSHA heat safety trainings, or anything like that?
So we have a couple of labor partners who we've been working with, and we've asked them to participate in the Human Rights Action Training Series that I mentioned, Councilmember Bond. And so we can specifically bring up that particular request as one that they can do work around. Obviously, I will give a nod to our amazing partners at Showcase Atlanta who are thinking about small businesses as well. They are doing a ton of training, and so we can also work with them to make sure that that's going to folks who are signing up for our resources, interested in vending, et cetera. And then also I have been spending time with our leads for FIFA Fan Fest, right, which will be one of the larger outdoor activations. We want to think with them as well. And I think everyone's been very receptive to recommendations and ideas about how we keep folks safe. And then I'm sure Thursday, the labor group will be quite present at the Human Rights Action conversation. They have been deeply influential in how we're thinking about the protections we want to put forward. And I'll give deep appreciation to ADOLS, who has a whole list of protections in the Human Rights Action Plan around wage, what to do if there is an issue that a worker needs to report, how to do that safely, and that the City of Atlanta can be really helpful in stewarding that toward the state, which is really where that body exists.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'd love to see long-term some sort of incentives put in place for small businesses or just businesses in Atlanta in general to mandate OSHA heat safety trainings, just because this is just increasingly going to be an issue as we grow hotter every single summer. I also had a question about, we're likely to see heightened police presence during the games, and so I'm wondering if there are any safeguards being put in place to make sure that we aren't criminalizing our houseless neighbors, mentally ill neighbors, et cetera.
I think that is our normal practice, Councilmember Bond, to be thoughtful. I work with our housing team a lot on making sure that as they build out our policies and our practices, we are thinking about equity at the center of that work, making sure that folks are cared for in our city. And so you'll notice in the plan a section on our housing process. We also will have a public meeting coming up with folks who are interested in that question, how we're supporting folks who are unhoused with wraparound services, and I'm grateful for the housing team for doing that. And then your second question, if you don't mind repeating, there was a housing piece and...
I think it was just touching on, are there safeguards around?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think if there are lots of ideas that will be showing up in our training, and I think we can continue to advance those. If there are particular ones you want to see, I made note of the OSHA training in particular, we'd be happy to continue that conversation.
Awesome. And one more question kind of ties into that is, we tend to see an increased frequency of encampment sweeps as we prepare for big events like this. So are we planning to do that this year? Again, are we planning to pair people who are evicted from their encampments with long-term supportive housing? What is the plan for that? How are we making sure we're not just displacing people?
Absolutely. So I remembered your first question, which I will not comment explicitly on APD protocol, but I will say they, are managing that well. They are thoughtful. Our emergency preparedness team, as well as our public safety folks, are really thoughtful about how we will engage around FIFA. So I would let you chat with them if there are more specific questions. But I'm always reminded we do not have an agreement, neighborhood, and we stand thoughtful about making sure we protect folks in Atlanta. And then to your question around how we're managing those who are unhoused, our process, you experienced the recommendations that were made after to update our process around encampment closing. I want to give a lot of appreciation for that happening. Every time we have an encampment situation, we are using wraparound and supportive services. That is our standard here in Atlanta. So I don't think that we want to, one of the things I tell folks, we're not doing something different because FIFA's coming. We're doing what we do in Atlanta as always. And so we want to be thoughtful in every time we do that. And I think the same will be true throughout FIFA. And I think our conversations around our public meetings around what it means in downtown in particular will be very helpful to advancing a thoughtful strategy where we make sure folks get what they need anytime we are moving or putting them into supportive housing.
Thank you. So I just want to clarify, are you saying that every time we do an encampment sweep, we are pairing people immediately with wraparound services and supportive housing?
I'm not going to speak directly on policy, but my understanding of our process is that we have a whole team who thinks about that all the time. We have a partner whose responsibility is that. And so when they are deciding to engage in the encampment process, there are folks who are out there prior to it happening. We are doing notification, all those things that we know are pretty standard, but I won't specifically speak about if that always happens in terms of pairing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was asking because I do not think that's our current policy, so I want to make sure that that is top of mind as we approach the World Cup.
Absolutely, and I'll be happy to have that conversation with our housing team.
Thank you.
I yield my time.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all. Please let us know if there are additional questions.
Next up is our consent agenda. If you will sound items 2 and 3.
There's one more presentation.
There was one more presentation, and Commissioner Lannon, we have turned that into a written report so she could make her 3 p.m. appointment.
Okay, perfect. Okay, hold on, where am I at? Okay, that takes us to ordinances for first reading. Item number 2, 260-1161, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee on behalf of the Department of City Planning to amend Ordinance 250-1593, adopted by Atlanta City Council on November 17, 2025, and approved by City Charter Section 2-403 on November 26, 2025, to correct the funding information and for other purposes. Item number 3, 260-1175, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute a ground lease agreement with the Andrew J. Young Foundation, a Georgia nonprofit corporation for property located in the 14th District, Fulton County, Georgia, tax parcel ID number listed in historic Vine City, Atlanta, Georgia, for a lease term of 5 years, with an option to request approval from the mayor to extend the lease term for 19 consecutive 5-year periods, and authorization for the mayor to grant up to 19 extensions for a yearly rental rate of $1 per year, waiving the lease of city-owned real property requirements contained in Section 2-1547, Article 10 of the Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions and for other purposes. That's it.
That takes us to our regular agenda, item number 4.
260-1125, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to waive the competitive source selection provisions contained in Section 2-1187 of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, to authorize the mayor to execute the Second Amendment to agreement number listed, Adult and Dislocated Worker Career Services with Arbor E&T, doing business as Quest Workforce Solutions, on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Labor and Employment Services, aka WorkSource Atlanta, to extend the term on a month-to-month basis for a period not to exceed 3 months, effective from April 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2026, an amount not to exceed $200,000.00. All contracted work shall be charged to and paid from the fund department, organization, and account numbers determined by the Chief Financial Officer and for other purposes. This item has an amendment to add the FDOA within the legislation.
I'll make a motion to amend. Second by Dozier.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
Any questions or comments? I'll make a motion to approve as amended. Seconded by Winston.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended.
4 yeas, 0 nays. That item is
4
favorable
yeas,
as
0
amended.
nays.
Without objection, well, on this paper? No. 2. Without objection. Okay. Sure.
And my questions around 26-01125 today are around a lawsuit that I just read. There's a lawsuit on June last year with this company right here in Philadelphia. It was about child labor laws. Can you expand upon any of the child labor laws from the last lawsuit that to make sure I say the name of their company right, Arbor ENT LLC. They were sued, a federal lawsuit right now in Philadelphia, that they were held accountable for labor laws, child labor laws.
Good afternoon. I'm Sonia Wilson Westmoreland, the Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Labor and Employment Services. To answer your question, we don't have any information regarding that lawsuit, but I do know that they do not participate in our work experience or handling our customers when it comes to work.
And is there anything that you all may know about it?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything that you all may know about this lawsuit?
We have no information and did not know about the lawsuit.
I'll ask about it myself right now. I'll pull it up, so if my colleagues would give me 30 seconds, because it's so important. I stepped out for a second. But if it's a child labor lawsuit, that's the only reason why I'm asking about it. And it's a quick Google search.
Okay.
Because I Google searched the company while we were sitting right here.
So they do not administer our youth services program. We do that in-house.
They don't administer it in Philadelphia either. They give the funding to organizations, and I don't know if they're watching this stuff the right way. That's why I would like to see if you could look into the U.S. Department of Labor investigation finds Pennsylvania employment company, Arbor ENT. U.S. Department of Labor investigation finds Pennsylvania Employment Service Agency, Equitas Workforce Solutions violated federal child labor laws. So I would like to actually have my vote on the record for this, and I want to vote no on this, or I want to abstain to make sure this is not on consent agenda until we can get some background information about the U.S. Department of Labor investigation that found Pennsylvania Employment Service Agency, Equitas Workforce Solution violated federal child labor laws. And I looked into it a little bit more to know the kind of jobs that the kids were doing up there when they were doing these out of hour type jobs. They had my kids out. They had kids in Philadelphia walking around with chainsaws.
Because he's going to get a vote no.
All right, so the first thing we're going to do is make a motion to reconsider. Count your vote however you want to.
Motion to reconsider.
Second by Dozier.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is reconsidered.
All right, so the item is back before us. Does anyone have a motion?
It's the posture is to, we just went before the last one. Back before.
Yeah, add motion.
So it's a motion to, that's where we stand.
Fair, and that was a motion by Westmoreland and a second by Winston. I suspect both of us probably would like to. Well, I don't know. Mr. Winston?
I'm just going to ask the time sensitivity of this legislation.
So the time sensitivity of it is that this motion, well, not motion, excuse me, we needed this contract to move forward because we are closing them out as of June. It ends on April, so we were extending it to June to do the case management. EQUIS does not do any, they only do case management for us. They don't do the youth side. I just kind of pulled it up as you did, Councilman Lewis. It was for 14 and 15-year-olds that they had put in workplaces that had some issues. They don't do that for us. They send individuals to training with ITA, which are individual training account agreements, and then those individuals get placed into employment with those training providers. So this is just a case management contract for us.
Okay, and then the follow-up to that would be, if this legislation does not move forward today and we aren't able to close this out at the time, what happens to the individuals who rely on this service?
So then we're bringing services in-house as of July 1. That's why we were trying to have some leeway, because we have to have individuals hired to take over that contract. Right now, we do not have the staffing to have those individuals to take over case management the way this contract is written. We have to have those hires, and that's already in the pipeline. And that was the reason for the extension.
Got it. I'll defer it back.
Mr. Lewis.
I love the work that you've been doing all over the city. I think all of our kids in the city of Atlanta and some young folks who between age 18 and 24, they all appreciate you and they know your work. This organization that is based in Louisville, Kentucky, contracts all over the country. Do they need this $200,000 a month for the next 4 months, or do we have to give them this amount to do this?
So that's based on how much we're currently paying them. So that's the projected amount.
Okay. And I see 1.4. I see $1,450,000 in there as well. Is that the total amount, or is that how much we've given them before?
I think that was total amount of the contract.
So I'm just making sure I watch this out-of-state company. If we're going to bring it in-house, I understand that. I hope that we bring it in-house. If we're not in-house, I hope we can open up the procurement again, because child labor laws is real. So thank you again, colleagues.
Thank you.
Mr. Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Councilman Lewis, for bringing this up. I share those concerns. Also, want to make sure that the department's not going to have any challenges with trying to get this contract executed in a way that as a stopgap before we take everything in-house. And so, recognizing there's still some questions that need to be answered, I'm actually going to move forward without recommendation. I feel like that will allow us some time before next council meeting to get those questions answered. This won't be on the consent agenda from what I understand if we make that motion, and we can revisit it at the next council meeting.
I think.
Okay.
No, not.
Okay.
It won't be on consent if it goes without recommendation.
I second it.
All right, so we've got a motion from Councilmember Dozier to move this paper forward to full council with no recommendation from this committee, which has been seconded by Councilmember Lewis.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
No recommendation.
No rec. Thank you. Colleagues, without objection, we can take items 6, 7, 8, 9, and 12 as a block. The recommendation will be, well, the need will be to hold for the next CDP hearing.
Item number 5, 260-1126, CDP 2532, an ordinance by Community Development Human Service Committee to amend the land use element of the 2025 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate a portion of property located at 2275 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard from the OS Development Pattern Designation to the LDMU Development Pattern Designation and for other purposes. Item number 6, 260-1127, CDP 2533, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2025 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 11 Mildred Place from the MLSF Development Pattern Designation to the LDR Development Pattern Designation and for other purposes. Item number 7, 26-01128, CDP 2535, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2025 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 511 South Evelyn Place from the MLSF Development Pattern Designation to the LDR Development Pattern Designation and for other purposes. Item number 8, 26-01129, CDP 26-1, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2025 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 1175 Johnson Road from the I Development Pattern Designation to the MUMD Development Pattern Designation and for other purposes. Item number 9, 26-01130, CDP 26-2, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2025 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 235 and 249 Milton Avenue from the MDR Development Pattern Designation to the MUHD Development Pattern Designation and for other purposes. Item number 12, 26-01151, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari to amend the land use element of the 2021 City of Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to designate property located at 1150, 1196, 1198, 1207, 1217, and 1220 Woodland Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, 30324 to MDR land use designation, residential land use designation, and for other purposes.
Thank you, colleagues. All of these items need to be held for the first quarter CDP hearing that is going to be on March 4th, which I would love to see you all at 6 p.m. in council chambers. Given that, I'll make a motion to hold.
Second.
Second by Dozier.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. These items have been held.
Item number 10.
26-01131, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to waive the procurement source selection provisions contained in Division 4 of Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, to authorize the mayor or his designee to enter into Amendment Number 1 with CHA Consulting for the RFP number listed, qualified environmental professional for Chattahoochee Brick Company site cleanup on behalf of the Department of City Planning, to increase funding in an amount not to exceed $275,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Got a motion to approve from Winston, second by Lewis.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Item 11.
26-01150, an ordinance by council members Liliana Bakhtiari, Ishay Collins, Matt Westmoreland, and Michael Julian Bond to rename the Kirkwood Urban Forest Preserve Williamson Urban Forest to waive certain provisions in Section 138-8 and 2-2 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for the purposes.
Any questions, comments? I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Winston.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Takes us to resolutions. Item 13.
26R3251, a resolution by Community Development Human Services Committee to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute the first renewal option to the agreement number listed, supplemental staffing services with Nova Collaborative, a joint venture between Nova Engineering and Environmental and the Collaborative on behalf of the Department of City Planning to extend the term of the agreement by 1 year effective from March 8th, 2026 through March 7th, 2027 for time only and for other purposes.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second by Dozier.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Item 14.
26R 3252, a resolution by Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute, deliver, and perform by the City of Atlanta a Fourth Amendment to the governmental agreement regarding the Atlanta Zoo by and among the City of Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia, and the City of Atlanta and Fulton County Recreation Authority, and for the purposes.
Is there a motion from the zoo rep? Got a motion to approve, which I will second. If there are no questions or comments, please open that vote.
One moment.
Come on, robotic dog.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Takes us to our dual referred item.
26-0-1154, an ordinance by council members Liliana Bakhtiari, Ishay Collins, Alex Wan, Jason Dozier, Matt Westmoreland, Dustin Hillis, Kelsey Bond, Wayne Martin, and Michael Julian Bond to amend ordinance 25-0-1310, the Cool Roofs ordinance adopted by the City Council of the City of Atlanta on June 2nd, 2025 by amending the effective date, providing additional options for reflectivity compliance, incorporating the Cool Roofs Rating Council reflectance standard, and for other purposes.
I will make a motion to approve. Second by Dozier.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Colleagues, that concludes our legislative items. Are there any general remarks? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.